In Africa, there's a dance where you throw the leg in the air and then you toss yourself on the floor. Not always, but it happens a lot of the time. This dance has to be modern, right? Actually, it's not. If you look at the tomb of Kagemni, you can see women doing the exact same dance from ancient Egypt. They throw their legs in the air and toss themselves to the ground. This dance in the tomb of Kagemni is captured beautifully, almost leaving no room for doubt that this is the same exact dance. More than that, there are multiple dances in ancient Egypt that appear to be other African dances. And of course, if this is that, then that is this, right? These dances are consistent for many reasons with African dances. Furthermore, with the obsession of footwork and this stomping position that you can see that these girls are about to do, and stomping is just consistent in African dance. But let's contrast this with other cultures. India or the sub Indian continent is a good example because though ancient, their dance style is still preserved till today. There's modification, modernization, but it still holds as a unique type of dance. Though to the outsider it may appear very feminine, it is a dance practiced both by men and female. I'm not talking about the specific dance, but the general overall cultural style. But who are we to judge? I mean, half the dances we did half naked. The Greek dances have a sort of tralala look about them, where they look like they're almost floating in the wind, trying to move in a certain direction. To contrast this with Egypt, remember, Egypt, there was a lot of stomping on the ground. This is how they show the elegance in their culture, as opposed to here, where the elegance is to sort of move away from the earth in this elegant way. To remind you of this sort of underpinning cultural thing where people don't realize that they're still doing it today, but they hold on to these cultural steps. If you notice that the leap in the African culture is the one where you kick the leg in the air, that's just a modified stomp. Something else that is unique about African dance is that it's full of these chaotic dances where one person could be going this side and the other person going that side. Whereas you notice with the other ones, they sort of have an elegance to it where they hold on to each other and not intersect with one another. This is to match the music of Africa, the poly drums. So you can tell that the people in Egypt, they're dancing, are dancing to drum music, and they're dancing to drum music mixed with these guitars, I guess, that they're playing, or sort of violin type stuff, and they're or lutes, and they're sort of moving in this chaotic pattern to match the chaotic drum pattern as well, the chaotic pattern. And this chaotic pattern is called polyrhythm. And modern music, something like EDM, disco, a lot of these types of music, they copied the African polyrhythm in order to create a new style that was different than the style that came before, that followed the blues and other patterns that were a little more, I can't say ancient because this also follows an ancient pattern. You don't know this, but it's true. I could make a whole video on Americans taking dances from around the world and then claiming that they invented them, like black bottom or twerking or any of these dances, which are obviously poached from other countries, and then they pretend they invented them themselves. Believe it or not, these two girls are dancing. They're actually bracing themselves, probably for the kick. just like this girl in this video. I mean, with the second video, it's almost uncanny. She's doing a fake where she pretends she's going to do the kick, but then she never really does it. This is part of the dance as well. And as you can see with these girls over there, they have the similar body type to Africans. You can see just there. And the head, let's not even talk about the head. Like, if you don't believe that's what African people look like, go to hell. And to add further information, this look with the small hair, that's from the Old Kingdom. And like this Old Kingdom picture shows you with these women in their hands in the air. And I must remind you, stomping patterns, deep hitting the ground. This is universal in Africa. Even in North Africa, they have this. You notice how if you Google North Africans, a lot of their traditions are very similar to the rest of Africa outside of the Middle Eastern influence. You know, that sort of holding hands dance, the one that they do in Rome and Greece. That's where a lot of the other influences come from, and of course the Middle Eastern influences. But if you look at the like straight, if you look for it, you'll find it. The African influences. This is a head of an ancient Egyptian woman, and as you can see, her hair is not long enough for her to be wearing a wig. But something that you will notice is that her hair does not match these four kings of different nations, one of them being Minoan, the other being Middle Eastern, in different parts of the Middle East. But you will notice again that if we zoom into the hair of ancient Egyptian women, other ancient Egyptian women, that this hairstyle is not a fluke, it's consistent, whether long or short. In this picture, you can see that the woman and the man have the same hairstyle. Not only that, but they seem to look like the same person outside of the fact that the woman is smaller, her color is way lighter than he is, and she's got a little bit of a breast showing on next to her arm. She's obviously playing some type of music, and the man is holding some kind of instrument. I don't know if it's for hitting, but it's very interesting. If you look at them both, you can see that their faces are sub-Saharan African, and their hair is consistent with that as well. And also the darkness of the skin color is consistent with that. But if we leave that alone for a second and we think about what beauty has come to mean based on several cultures. I mean, if we look at the Bible, from the Middle East, right? The Bible's from the Middle East. There's a part in the Bible that says, does the Bible not tell you that having long hair is something that a woman should have, not a man? Does nature not tell you that? That's from the Bible. This is a consistent thought throughout the Middle East and Rome or Greece. If you look at their hairstyles, the men tend to have short hair, the women have long hair. In Egypt, it actually doesn't matter. Women can have long hair, they can have short hair. And the reason for this, obviously, is because in Africa, women tend to have the same type of hair as the men. Due to modernity, where women wear weaves and stuff, we get this false impression that women have long hair, men have short hair. But any two people of the same culture have basically the same type of hair. And in Africa, they have short hair just like the men. And as you can see in this image, it's reflected perfectly. Like I said, the men also have this type of hair, and you can see, admitted by Egyptologists, that this represents curly hair, which, of course, your question is, and it should be, why so much curly hair? Why never straight hair? Why never long hair? Why never representing the type of hair that they have? And as you can see, these people are doing it on a consistent basis for different people. And if you look at this image here of this fisherman, you can see that his hair, again, less taken care of than other people, but his hair has this braid thing about it, and it's short, and it's the same. If you pay attention to this fisherman, you notice he's balding, and his hair is more reflective of straight hair, but it's not straight. In fact, it's a braid pattern. But let's say you do see it as straight hair. Admit then that the ancient Egyptians can draw straight hair, and they did do it on some of them. And when they did it, they look nothing like the majority of the hair of most people, which means that the majority of most people did not have straight hair. It's contrasted by this type of hair. This type of hair to me is the same as everything else. It's dreaded. You can see on his beard, it's a little bit patchy. This guy just has, I would say, like a messed up hair, and that's just it. But it's not just the hair. Take a look at the face. Something that will strike you is this smushed look to it, where it looks like the lips are pressed against a glass plate, the way that they're so full and the nose is so wide. They look like they pressed up on a glass plate. The person who did this, the model of the person they did this on, must have had very broad nose and had very large lips in order for them to do this. Again, it's just consistent with Africa. And again, almost every picture that I show you will have this trait. And this is just to bring it back down to earth, because a lot of people, they will select any prop. And I want to remind you, it's not just the skin color, because a lot of people, that's what they focus on, and they say, hey, there's a lot of dark people in Egypt. And it's true, there's some people in Egypt who are dark. A lot of them are mixed with black people, but that's not just it. That's not the whole story. Like, it's also the way they look. And of course, I'm going to make other videos about how they describe themselves. I've shown a few, which, by the way, none of you have ever seen before. Like, these stories are so out there, but people never see them. They always go, oh, it's the Greeks who said it. No, everybody said it, including the ancient Egyptians themselves.